Call to order the November 1st, 2022 meeting of the North Andover Planning Board. Pursuant to Chapter 107 of the Acts of 2022, this meeting of the North Andover Planning Board will be, this meeting as well as any public hearings will be conducted in person and via remote means in accordance with applicable law. Specific information and general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and or parties with a right and a requirement to attend this meeting or any public hearings can be found on the town's website at www.northandoverma.gov. For this meeting and for these public hearings, in-person attendance of members of the public and board members will be permitted. Members of the public who wish to watch the meeting live may do so on their televisions by tuning to Comcast Channel 8 or Verizon Channel 26 or online at www.northandovercam.org. Every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on Town of North Andover website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceeding as soon as possible after the meeting. If members of the public would like to participate in any public hearings but not attend the meeting in person, please email your question or comment prior to or during the meeting to Gene Enright at jenright@northandoverma.gov. The question or comment will be read during the proceeding and responded to accordingly. Bond release 212 Brentwood Circle, John Turnillo. Request for release of a $4,000 performance bond associated with the approved watershed permit, special permit to allow for the installation of an in-ground swimming pool, patio, shed, and fencing within the 325-foot non-discharge zone of the watershed protection district. Jean?
So a watershed special permit was granted in January of 2022 to allow for the construction of the pool, patio, and accessory structure, which was a shed. Construction is complete, the area is stabilized, an engineer certification letter, pictures, and an as-built plan has been included in your meeting packet with some site photos. And so I've shown one of the site photos. The lawn is fully grown. The stone, you can see it to the far side of the pool. The stone is there for infiltration, so the drains have been installed and the stone infiltration basin is there.
Okay, looks nice.
Somebody's here.
We'll await our invite in the summer. Can we get a motion to release the $4,000 performance bond for 212 Brentwood Circle?
So moved.
Okay, so we do have if we get a second?
Second.
Second by, we'll do John. All in favor, we're going to go roll call since we do have someone remotely. Kelly?
Yeah.
Alyssa?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Peter?
Aye.
And I vote yes. That bond release is approved. We're going to go to discussion items next. 400.
Eitan is starting.
Yep.
You want me to take attendance?
Yes,
Roll
thank
call.
you. Good idea.
Okay. So Kelly Cormier,
Here.
Remotely. Yep.
remotely. Alyssa Koenig? Here. Sean Kevelin?
Here.
Peter Boynton?
Here.
John Simons?
Here.
Eitan Goldberg?
I am here. All right, 400 Great Pond Road Steering Committee. The committee was officially, was approved by the Select Board. One of the members is the Harbor Master, so that's Peter. He is a member by the rules set out by the Select Board. Another is the Planning Board or designee, so I'm going to designate John to be our appointment to the 400 Great Pond Steering Committee. I don't think we need a vote for that, but just wanted to put that on the record, and I did let Jillian know that that would be our designee.
Okay.
Okay, so that's all set. Master Plan Implementation Committee Quarterly Update. Is that something I think has been provided and we're reading?
Yep.
Okay.
You have the copy?
Is it linked?
It is.
So I'll do that. So I took over for Kelly on the Master Plan Implementation Committee as the Planning Board's designee. The meetings have been going well, been making a lot of progress, especially updating the website. So I would definitely suggest to everyone to check out the website. It really does a good job. You can click on every kind of strategy from the master plan and see what's been updated. So for instance, if you clicked on something about trails, it would say, okay, these following steps have been taken. If you clicked on, something about the public buildings, it would say, okay, now we've appointed a school building committee or something. It just gives little updates for each of the different topics. It also shows which ones haven't been addressed and what's been worked on. It's a really great, useful tool for the public to see kind of what's been going on in one kind of place. I'll read the letter. Dear members of the Select Board and Planning Board, this is the Town of North Andover Master Plan Implementation Committee's 7th quarterly progress report on town-related activities and the continued implementation of strategies and recommendation as proposed in the town's 2018 master plan. The primary focus of the committee during this quarter was to continue to refine a website that provides up-to-date information relative to the implementation status of all the elements and strategies contained in the master plan. This site, which is available through the town's website, categorizes each of the 7 elements and provides both an overarching summary and a detailed breakdown of completed action items to fulfill the individual strategies for each of the elements. Here's a link to the website. Gee, could you click the link? Just we'll bring that up while I read. Additionally, the MPIC was invited to present their analysis and findings relative to the proposed Royal Crest redevelopment at town meeting this past May. The MPIC also began discussions relative to a potential accessory dwelling unit bylaw that would allow small accessory residential units on existing residential parcels and how it aligned with the master plan strategy number 19 and address the need for additional affordable housing in town. The master plan implementation committee objectives for the next quarter include the following: sustain discussion and outreach with groups, organizations, and town bodies responsible for implementing selected strategies, continue to identify strategies which may be well underway, completed, or in need of direction through active and/or proposed projects, initiatives, and governance. One request the committee would like to make of the Select Board is to alter the schedule for reporting progress on master plan implementation. We suggest that the committee report on a biannual basis, once in January and once in July, with the option of presenting additional reports should the situation dictate. We look forward to answering any questions that you or the public may have about the committee's progress to date. Sincerely, Jonathan Strauss, Chair, Meredith Barnes-Cook, Vice Chair. So this is the website. So you'll see here Strategy 2, and then below it you'll see different items detailing things that have been done, and that's kind of constantly being updated. If you ever go through there and see that something's isn't updated, feel free to let me know, and then I can bring that to, especially planning board wise or watershed wise or anything that you have, housing wise or anything you have particular insight on. If something's happening and you think the public should know about it, this is a really great resource for us to put that all in one place. Sometimes it's hard to find everything, and this is a good place to kind of find a lot of different things. And that's what's going on with the Master Plan Implementation Committee. We did talk last time about an accessory dwelling unit. Again, the Master Plan Implementation Committee isn't responsible for kind of coming up with ideas. It's these things that are in the master plan. And so we talked about how can the Master Plan Implementation Committee facilitate what's in the master plan, which talks about accessory dwelling units, and we discussed potentially starting the idea of a working group. So Gina and I are working on that. We're going to bring that to the board to discuss if a working group would be an appropriate way to kind of try to tackle that question, which is kind of a hard one to really pin down. So that's what we're working on. Okay. Questions, comments? Kelly, you sure you don't want to jump back in there? No? All right. All right. Thought I'd try. Okay. 170 Pleasant Street, Lorianne and Mike Messina request for a site plan review waiver for the operation of a daycare. The property is located in the general business zoning district. Jean, why don't you tell us, and do we have anyone here to talk about that?
Yep, we do have.
Okay, why don't you folks
Lorianne.
come up and sit here?
So this was the reason for the revised agenda that I sent out late Thursday afternoon. I received a building permit application for a daycare center located at 170 Pleasant Street. So the locus is on the screen. It's on the corner of Route 125 and Pleasant Street. You can see Lincoln Street is across the way, and Hafner's is in the immediate top left-hand corner. The former use has always been medical, from what I can remember. I believe it was Dr. Patterson Dentist Office, and then Leahy Group took over a medical practice here. The use required a special permit from the ZBA, so they have gone through the ZBA process and were granted a special permit for the daycare use. The parking requirement has been confirmed by the building inspector, so the requirement is, I believe, 35 and 38 are provided. And in your packet tonight is kind of what I asked for, was a description that kind of details the drop-off pickup times in this area. So I'll bring that up.
Can you folks introduce yourselves?
I am Laurie Ann Messina, and this is
I'm her
my,
husband, Michael Messina.
Okay.
And as the letter states, Laurie Ann's been a lifelong resident of North Andover. For the past 29 years, she's owned and operated Little Learners Child Care Center, first out of our home on Waverly Road. And, excuse me, approximately 12 years ago, she opened her 186 Mass Avenue location in the Curse Calvary Baptist Church. Approximately a year ago, she had the opportunity to purchase the said building from Dr. Sobrato's office. And at that time, we purchased the building, we hired an architect, we planned out all the interior modifications that needed to be made, and, you know, set forth on a path to, you know, remodel the interior of the building only, to, you know, accommodate an additional center, to house approximately 80 students, 16 staff members. We also had to make plans per the state of Massachusetts regulations for a certain amount of outdoor space, which you can see in the aerial photo. We've highlighted the parking, the playground area, and we've highlighted the parent parking and drop-off area, which is off the road. There'll be a separate, obviously, entrance and exit for that, and then we have staff parking in front of the building. There is also going to be additional guardrails installed for child safety, so children entering the building won't be exposed to the staffed area parking if need be. And obviously, the playground areas will be gated, and there'll be obviously ADA parking and whatever else is needed.
Okay. So I've known this as a doctor's office. I guess before that, I don't know what, if it was dentist.
Put the picture back up again.
Yep.
there was Dr. Sobrato.
Yeah.
And then it was,
So yeah, it was late.
then it was Leahy Clinic.
Yeah.
So the play area is
Right there.
right. Is it going to just stay the way it is?
No,
I mean,
we-
it's not.
we-
Yeah.
We are currently sitting on 6 pallets of rubber playground mulch. It's going, that they're like tiles.
Nothing is going to change environmentally. It's going to be more placed on top.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm more in this case just getting a sense of, you know, what the playground's going to look like, you know, because
It's going to be, think of like, you know, the rubber tiles?
Yeah.
These will be like 4 inches thick and laid down over the pavement.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of what
Just
they,
in the middle.
it's kind
Yeah.
of what they do with inner city schools when they
Right,
have to
yeah.
change over the playgrounds. They don't tear up the pavement to create as, you know, least amount of damage as possible to the environment.
But you're going to fence all around.
We're going
know,
to
where
fence currently where the white lines are.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And for the area that is where you would just do head-in parking, is that where you're going to put the guardrail?
No, there will be a
Yes,
guardrail.
there'll be guardrails in front of the lines,
And that's staff parking.
and that's staff parking.
That's staff parking.
Drop off and pick up is
Yes.
at the
Is over-
top of the
out
school.
there, okay.
And
got
that already has guardrails around
it. Yeah.
there.
What type of fencing?
And
It's white vinyl privacy fence. And any areas that are exposed to traffic will have guardrails in front of them, so it's not just fence.
These white arrows that are going around the building here into the playground, that's a walkway, there's gonna be a
Yes.
fence, like a walk-through fence
Yes.
there?
Yes. Just for the staff.
Will there be a fence also in the back?
Yeah,
between the-
right where the
'cause-
white line is, that is the fence.
Okay.
And
Gotcha,
there'll be
I
a
see.
fence, it goes to the end of the building and there'll be a gate. There's actually 2 gates. There's a white vinyl privacy gate, and then where the corner of the front building is, there's a chain link gate, because that's really not a child's area, that's more of a, like a
For double.
double protection.
The children will enter through the back of the building, right?
No,
Children-
the children are going to enter right by the parent parking lot, right where that white car is.
I mean, to the playground area.
To the playground, you see there's a
See
handicap
the
access ramp?
handicap access ramp in the back?
That's where they'll be entering the playground area.
Yes.
Are you planning to take out any of the trees or shrubs that
No.
are on that line? Okay.
Nope.
No.
No, nothing to the exterior of the building.
Gene, is there anything about this proximity to a gas station for childcare? I think there isn't, but I just
No,
wanted to ask.
nothing that I'm aware of.
Legally, no,
My-
nothing. We've
my
already
cons-
done an environmental.
We've already reached out to the EEC, the Governing Board of Massachusetts, because she has a current location now, and she's made them aware this is going to happen, so they kind of gave her a preliminary of, you know, if there's any.
And we had to do an environmental study, and everything was cleared.
Yeah, my primary concern was traffic circulation. So there's certain things that would trip site plan review, like stormwater runoff, but there's nothing changing to the outside of the building. So traffic, and so I had a conversation with Aton, just kind of a path forward, given they've already been through the special permit for ZBA. And what was described to me was there was a butter that did come to the meeting, and her concern was expressed was about safety for the children. And once the plan was described and the area shown, the ZBA certainly seemed satisfied, and I think it was approved in one meeting.
What you said, the letter said 16 employees. I assume that would be over the course of the day, so not all 16 at the same time?
Basically, what it happens is, like I stated in the letter, it's like 2 at a time that come, and then they work 8-hour shifts. So we don't have a mass arrive and we don't have a mass leaving.
Right.
It's maybe two at a time, then another half an hour, one would arrive. It's all on numbers of children.
Gotcha. Right, because you have to have a certain ratio based on
Yes.
the ages and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
And it would be the same way leaving. Not everybody, the most that would leave at night would be 2 at a time.
Right, so the person who got there at 6:30 would
Yeah,
leave
would leave at.
first,
Yeah.
and the person who got there at 8 would leave
Exactly.
later. Okay, I mean, that was my, when I talked to Gina about it, my biggest concern was, now are we adding more traffic? But based on what it was when it was the, doctor's office, it was pretty much 9 to 5 people coming in and out.
Absolutely.
The same amount of employees. I mean, I think they had maybe 10 or so people usually there employed, at least the times I've been in there. Maybe actually a few more because I had the blood donation too. So it seemed pretty similar. And given that it's staggered, it doesn't seem like it's something that I think we would need additional traffic data on. That was just my thought. I don't know what people
I
thought.
mean, for me, the paramount thing is obviously the safety of the kids, but I think you've pretty clearly demonstrated that you've talked to enough people and you've thought the thing through.
And the
pretty
state does
clearly.
inspections for that also. They
Well,
they
that's
have a
what I
very-
mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm
Having
very
grandkids that are
on
in
the
daycare
safety
today,
of it.
yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, so, yeah.
Okay. Anyone else? Any comments, questions? Okay. Get a motion to approve the request for a site plan review waiver for 170 Pleasant Street.
So moved.
Motion made.
Second?
Second, and all in favor? Kelly?
Yes.
Alyssa?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Peter?
Aye.
I vote yes. All right,
you.
waiver is approved. Let's just talk to Gina about what else needs to be signed off on, and you're all set with us.
Thank
you
you
for
so
your time.
much.
All
I
right.
appreciate it.
You're welcome. All right, so we're done our discussion items. All right, new public hearing, 104 Bonnie Lane, Patrick Gaffney, application for a watershed special permit under Article 4, Part 5, and Article 10, Section 195, 10.7 of the zoning bylaw to authorize construction of an in-ground pool, patio, and perimeter fence within the non-disturbance zone of the watershed protection district. Property is located in the R1 zoning district. All right, Gene, why don't you tell us what we got, and then we'll hear from someone on behalf of the applicant.
Yep. So I'm just displaying the locus now. Oh, sorry. So the project includes a minor change in grade and installation of a new permanent structure within the non-disturbance zone of the Watershed Protection District. The proposed pool has a pervious patio, and the pervious patio are located outside of the Conservation Commission's 50-foot no-build zone. However, it is located almost entirely within the 100-foot non-disturbance zone of the Wetland Protection District and 100 feet of Concom's jurisdiction. An application for approval of a ZBA variance for the installation of the permanent structure within this zone has been filed, and the hearing is scheduled to open on November 15th. A notice of intent application is required by the Conservation Commission as well. The parcel is just over 1 acre and located on the northerly side of Bonnie Lane, near the end of the cul-de-sac. The proposed pool construction is located outside of the 250 non-disturbance and 325 non-discharge buffer from the lake itself. However, the presence of wetlands means the pool is located within 100 feet of the non-disturbance buffer and 325 of the non-discharge buffer to a wetland resource within the watershed district. The parcel currently has a wooden picket fence, and a portion of that chain link fence will be replaced with a new chain link fence in the same location as the existing one. The fence encroaching on the abutting property to the north will be removed with evidence of the owner's consent. An engineer has provided written certification that the proposed pool will not result in a significant degradation of the quality or quantity of water in or entering the lake. And Horsley Witten has provided their first peer review comments that the applicant is reviewing and preparing a response to. Those comments are included in your packet.
Okay.
All right, so Dennis Squicci is here from Andover Consultants.
Okay,
Gene,
Wayne.
who gave the opinion that no significant impacts?
The consultant team,
Hired by the client, right?
yes, by the applicant. It's a certified engineer with a stamp on the statement, so.
And we're waiting for our peer review comments on,
We've received the first round of peer review, so
Yeah.
there's several. I mean, primarily, there's no O and M plan submitted with the application, an O and M plan for either the pervious patio or the rundown of the pool at the end of the season, and so they're aware that they need to provide that information.
was there anything highlighted by Horsley Witten about concerns about degradation or input into the lake or anything like that?
No.
Okay.
So here's my reason for
I'm-
asking.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, no,
I-
no, I'm glad you're asking.
Yeah.
If you look on that map, can you put that back up, Gene?
I mean, this is right next to the lake.
What's that?
I mean, this is,
Well,
Well,
Right
that's
there.
what yeah.
it's on the
I- I
opposite side of the road, but there's another concern I have here that I haven't heard anyone mention. So can you move your cursor on that map, Gene? I don't see it.
Well, is it possible to get the topo? Because the big thing to me is how close is this thing being to the wetland that goes right into the lake?
Well, that's what I'm trying to get to. Oh, I see the cursor, but I don't see it on the map. So if you look on this map,
It's like a cross sign?
yeah, I still don't see it, but
Okay.
Gene, if you could put that cursor on the property line boundary between 6251 and 6250. Ah, right there. Now move it down towards the lake. Okay, now move it slightly to the right. Right there.
Yep.
That's a
what you go
stream entering the lake. It's
Coming.
not a big stream.
coming from where, Peter?
Well, that's my question. I only know where it drains into the lake by paddling past it 100 times. I don't know where it comes from, and I don't know if it goes under the Bonnie Lane or I mean, it has to. I don't know which side of this property it goes past, and so, we often talk here when we talk about, watershed, it's so many feet from the lake, but if I see it's near a stream, I will always comment, it's much closer to the stream than the shoreline, and the reason is that stream is an express lane into the lake. So you might be 300 feet from the lake, if you're 40 feet from a stream, once it's in the stream, it's minutes before it's in the lake. So it's not like seeping through the ground for 300 feet. So I'd be very interested, Gene, with our consultant, if they're taking into account the effect of that stream. It is a small enough stream that I'm not even sure if it shows up well on maps, and I don't know if it'll show up on the topo. I just don't know.
Yeah.
I am certain it's there. I've been by it 100 times. And so I'd also be very interested in the applicant's engineer comments on if you have taken into consideration that stream. So for example, if when the pool is emptied, one of my concerns is if that's not a careful protocol and it, goes on to the lawn, it could, depending on where that stream trends, very quickly get into the stream and then into the lake. And the homeowner wouldn't necessarily know. But it's not going to seep through 300 feet or whatever it is of ground. There's a stream. I just don't know where it goes when it gets to Bonnie Lane. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So I would like to hear and see something about the impact of that stream, because this property is very close to the lake and there's a stream there.
I don't even see it on the aerial, so.
Well, there's a little dark patch where I asked Jean to put her
Yeah.
cursor, and I agree with you, Eitan, it does not show up well on this photo.
Where does it go? Like I see it, yeah. I'd be curious to actually see it in real life.
Well, you're gonna have to get in the kayak, but I can
I got
paddle
my-
over with you.
All right,
Yeah.
I'll go. My kayak's still down at the.
All right.
Still down there.
Site visit.
All right. Peter and I are doing site visit this weekend. All right, what do you want to tell us?
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Dennis Gricci. I'm an engineer with Andover Consultants with an office at 1 East River Place in Methuen, Massachusetts. I think Gene did a great job giving an overview of the project, which is a proposed pool and pervious paver patio within the non-disturbance buffer zone in the Watershed Protection District. So the work itself is more than 400 feet away from the lake. However, the presence of an on-site wetland does put us into the the special permit application process.
So the wetland shown is in the upper left-hand corner on the plan, if you can see my cursor.
So the wetland is the green area shown there. The proposed pool is shown in blue. The pervious paver patio is shown here in this light yellow. The pool itself will be approximately 56.7 feet away from the resource area, so it does meet the 50-foot setback required by conservation. The area itself is currently developed. It's a lawn area. It's been used as a lawn for years. The lot itself was created in 1980, so it does predate the bylaw, the October 1994 bylaw date. I think the fact that the site itself is in the Watershed Protection District, so I think we just make the assumption that all water in the Watershed Protection District will have an impact at some point to the waters in the lake. With that,
Can I just make a comment on that point?
yes.
I think that's a valid and important assumption to make. It's a bowl. If it's in the district, it's going to the lake. But the point I was trying to make is because there's a stream nearby, the impact to the lake is affected substantially by the significant increase in velocity entering into the lake. There's very little filtering. If it gets to the stream, it just runs into the lake.
So the way the site is currently graded, you can see there's some steep topography down to the lake. There's also grading, obviously, to the low lying wetland area. The patio and the pool itself is all going to be grading towards this wetland area here. So the way we have the patio elevation, you can see the elevations go from 144, 146, 148. So we're up at about 150. So the developed area or the proposed development area will be grading towards the wetland. So there will be an opportunity for it to recharge and infiltrate
So
prior to.
I would normally agree with you that it's an opportunity to recharge, and I would also normally feel encouraged that the slope is away from the shore of the lake. It's going up towards the northwest. But when I see the location of that wetland, I have to wonder if that's the origin of the stream. And if it is, then it's not going to recharge in the wetland. It's going to run through the stream into the lake quickly.
We did, again, we developed the site, or that the patio would be a pervious paver patio, so we'll have the opportunity to recharge in the patio itself.
Yep.
So that was one of the site considerations we made when laying out the site. The pool itself, we do have an operation and maintenance plan that we're developing to submit to the board. That was a request from Horsley Witten, and Gene also mentioned that's something we should provide. So we will be providing that to the board and to Conservation Commission with instructions.
Eitan, I'm not suggesting that the applicant should do more than required in the bylaw, and I hope my questions aren't viewed that way, but is it possible for the board to ask, where does that small stream tie into that wetland? And if it does, I mean, we have engineers looking at this, which is the right way to do it. Can the engineers provide us with a comment, a stamped comment, on if the stream is originating in that wetland, what is the impact of the presence of the stream? Because a lot of times when we think of a wetland, we think of a small bowl in the land, wherever we're talking about. And so you're absolutely correct. If it's draining into the wetland, that's normally good news, because it's going to settle in that bowl and recharge and seep through the ground, and it's all very slow and all very filtered. But if that bowl for that wetland is drained by a stream, those assumptions don't work. Boom, into the lake quickly. And so I would like to have an engineer comment on, is that where that little, it's a tiny stream, but is that where it comes from?
Right? I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, so we ask these kind of questions every time we have a watershed, but there's a different level of concern based on where it is and what's around for each one of these, and we try to be pretty individualized with them. So sometimes they just fly through, and sometimes we have more questions. So it's definitely not a comment on anything done wrong. You guys are doing everything right. But we do have some additional concerns. So photographs, review, documentation, anything that we can get to show us where things are and what's going to happen would give us a lot more ability to get to a yes.
Yeah, I had one other point I wanted to follow up on Peter's point is, you see the edge of the wetland there, but I guess what I'm trying to understand, is it also possible that that wetland is connected to a larger wetland? Is it an isolated wetland, or is it connected as a tributary to the lake somehow? What's the total ecosystem there? I mean, it may come down, as Peter said, but it also may loop around the other way. It's just unclear to me the extent.
I can have the wetland biologist prepare a detailed wetland report or a wetland report classifying or categorizing the wetland. I believe it's a smaller isolated wetland. It does not show up on the town GIS. So it was,
What's that?
It doesn't show in our GIS.
Right,
So,
it
yeah,
doesn't show up on the town
that kind of
GIS.
information will be very helpful, I think, to your client and just for us to understand, where this, along with the O&M plan, where's this water going? What's going to happen to it? Should we have concerns? And if you can show us that we shouldn't have any concerns, I think that's a good thing.
I guess the other point that I would raise, and this is why it's a flag, is it is true because this house was built in around 1980. It's not subject to the full current wetland bylaw, but nonetheless, it's not in, what's proposed is not in compliance with the bylaw that it's under, because they're going for a variance. So unless they get a special waiver due to soil conditions, slope, or topography, technically they can't do it. So, and I have no idea how that has anything to do with soil conditions, slope, or topography, but that's a different story. But the point ends up being is, without a variance, you can't build it. So that says to me there's a red flag here, just out of the box. Yeah.
Okay, so next steps, so they're going to respond to the comments,
Yep.
respond to our comments and discussion,
Yep.
and then we'll pick it up at the next hearing.
So that's the thing. So they're up against the ZBA and Conservation, and you're going to want a sense, certainly from Conservation, I trust. So the ZBA hearing is November 15th, the same night as your next meeting.
Okay.
So I would suggest a continuance beyond the 15th. And Dennis, I'll leave it to you to line up with your Conservation meeting.
yeah, I think the soonest we could be on the Conservation Commission meeting would be December 12th. That would be, the next filing deadline is November 3rd. Following that is December 1st for the December 14th meeting. So I think that would be when we'd be before Conservation, just to get their feedback. We do have the zoning board meeting on the 15th. We're hoping that we get positive feedback from the board, from the zoning board at that hearing. And then we can come back to the planning board with responses and hopefully some
Okay,
answers to your questions.
that's fine.
So we meet on December 6th, so if you have made progress with the peer review, then you might want to come in on the 6th, and then it'll be definitely another meeting after after the Conservation Commission.
On the 14th, okay.
sees it.
Just to comment a little bit on my observations, the only time, I've been up and down Bonnie Lane, the only time I've been able to see the stream is when I'm paddling on the shoreline, where it enters the lake closer to 6251 than 6250. And just so that, if you walk the property in question and say, hey, I don't see a stream here, that's not really good enough, because there is a stream entering the lake. It's very, very small, and so the question is, what can the engineers tell us about where that stream is originating from? Is it that wetland? And if so, help us understand how that's not going to impact.
And if not, then our concern is mitigated some, right? If it goes somewhere else.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Got some homework. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll continue that public hearing till
Now we're
December
December
6th.
6th.
December 6th.
December 6th.
Okay, and if for some reason you don't think you have enough to come back to us, then we can continue it out, but that's fine. All right, great.
Thanks
You
so
know
much.
when you want to paddle.
Sunday is gonna be, it says it can be like 70 degrees on Sunday,
It's gonna be-
so,
Could be the day.
all right. No, seriously, I'd
I'm
like to get my
serious.
last one. Let's do it. All right, good. We'll go Sunday.
Oh, maybe,
John, you
maybe
wanna
Philly's on.
Why not?
During the day. Yeah, let's go Sunday field trip. Anyone wants to? Yep. Sunday field trip. Okay. All right, what are we on? We're on. Okay, new public hearing, 0 Turnpike Street, Middleton Farms LLC. Application for site plan review, special permit, Article 8, supplementary regulations, Part 3, site plan review, and Article 10, Administration 195, 10.7 of the North Andover zoning bylaw. The applicant proposes redevelopment of the property consisting of the raising of all existing structures, the construction of a 167,933 square foot industrial building that encompasses the town of North Andover and Middleton, the construction of the new access drive located in Middleton, the construction of all associated parking areas, stormwater management structures, shared septic located in Middleton, and utility installations, and construction of a 14,303 square foot outdoor storage yard located in Middleton. The project is located with the Industrial 1 zoning district. So I do see that we do have members of the public here. So Kelly, just so that, since you can't see, there are about 3, 4, 5, 10, a little more than 10, I think, members of the public here, and then it looks like some people for the applicant. So for people who may be new to the planning board, I don't know what you've been doing this whole time, why you haven't been here all of these meetings, but the way a public hearing works is that this will be the first public hearing on this. I doubt that it will be the last. I doubt that we'll be in a position to make a decision on this application today. What we'll do is we will, Jean will kind of tell us a little bit about what we're looking at. We'll hear a presentation. The board may then ask questions or have comments for the presenters. I will then open it up to anyone who's submitted online questions or comments, and then to anyone here who wants to ask questions or make a comment or both. You can come up to the microphone. The only requirement is that you tell us who you are and where you live. If you want to make a statement, you can go ahead and make a statement. If you want to ask a question, I just ask that you make the question to the board, and then we'll either answer it, or if it's appropriate, we'll have the applicant answer it, or we'll tell you we need to get more information. But that's how the process works, okay? If anyone has questions about that, you can ask questions as we go about the process. Okay, go ahead, Jean.
So this is somewhat unique because it straddles the town boundary line, so my staff report is a little lengthy, but the locus is provided and on the screen. The parcel straddles the town boundary with approximately 7.1 acres of land located in North Andover and 4.8 acres in Middleton. There is 260 feet of frontage in Middleton and no frontage in North Andover. The applicant is simultaneously applying for site plan approval and a use special permit from the Middleton Board of Appeals. All utilities will be connected to mains through utility providers in Middleton: electricity by Middleton Electric Light, water by Danvers Water Department, and sewer by on-site septic system located in Middleton. The applicant proposed to use North Andover portion of the building as offices with associated indoor storage for various contractors, warehouse space, and research and development space. The property is currently used by various contractors, landscapers, service companies, a fuel supply company, and other industrial business with commercial vehicles. Most of the uses on the property involve outdoor equipment and supply storage and storage trailers, which you can see primarily in North Andover storage trailers. There are no permanent structures in North Andover. In Middleton, there are 2 permanent structures, a barn and a dwelling. All structures will be raised in order to accommodate for the construction of the redevelopment. Community impact fiscal impact statement are included in the application material. The fiscal impact statement suggests the redevelopment will create an immediate positive fiscal benefit to the town by generating property tax revenue through the redevelopment without the associated burdens, and that the building improvements are anticipated to generate recurring revenues of up to $300,000 per year. There'll be additional tax revenues generated from personal property and equipment owned and used by the businesses operating out of the property. Currently, the property tax revenues equal approximately $17,000 per year. I have forwarded the statement to the assessor, and I'm awaiting his review and comment. A technical review committee was held in early October. The application has been sent to TEC for civil, stormwater, and traffic peer reviews. Middleton is using the same peer reviewer as us, and we're sharing information.
Jean, and when you say there are 2 permanent structures, a barn and a dwelling, is that what's going to be or what's being raised?
They will be raised, and they're both located in Middleton.
So those are being torn down, okay.
Yep, they will be raised.
Okay. There are no permanent structures currently in North
in
Andover.
North Andover. Those are all kind of tractor-trailer storage units.
So the North Andover portion of so there will be well, I'll turn it over to you, Brian, ask any more questions. Go ahead.
Good evening, Jill Mann from Mann and Marin, located in 191 South Main Street in Middleton. Here this evening is Ray Felitti, who is the principal of Middleton Farms, the owner and applicant for the property, as well as Chris Spragis from Williamson Spragis, the site design engineer. So good evening. As you know, we're applying for site plan review, a special permit for site plan review. This particular property is exceptionally unique, and it's the last one of its kind, I believe, where it straddles the line between Middleton and North Andover. Why it is so unique is you only have entrance points from Middleton, so all of the frontage is in Middleton. Years ago, Ms. Enright and I had discussions with town council and I think just town council about how, in fact, to connect utilities to the site. The issue is, in order to connect any utilities in North Andover, you'd need actually an intermunicipal agreement. And we were told by the town council that that was just never going to happen because you had to come down Route 114, then come through Middleton, then come back into North Andover. So what we've been doing over the past year or so is actually researching how we can connect utilities. We met with Middleton Electric Light, and we did discuss this with your department heads as well. And Middleton Electric Light is able to actually provide service as long as we have, the meter rooms in Middleton, which we do, and I'll show you where those are. With regard to water, we had conversations with your water department during the department meeting, as well as with Middleton's department head for the water, for Danvers Water. And that will be provided all through Danvers, including we will service all of the hydrants on the site, but because the hydrants are fire safety, we're not all that concerned about the outflow of those. But with regard to potable water and any kind of use that's domestic, that's why the septic system is located entirely in Middleton, because we're taking from Middleton's water basin, we need to replenish Middleton's water basin. So that's why, as Jean had mentioned, and Ms. Enright had mentioned earlier, our septic system is located only in Middleton. As I said, we did meet with your department heads for a department review meeting and Middleton's department heads. And as part of the process between Ms. Enright and the town planner from the town of Middleton, we agreed to use TEC for our joint review. So TEC will review stormwater. The stormwater permit is issued through your Conservation Commission and also through our conservation agent, Middleton's conservation agent. So those two departments will be working on that particular permit together. Regarding traffic, it's my understanding that TEC has already received the plans, already received the report, and is reviewing that through North Andover's process. Middleton has also hired TEC to review the civil part of the proposal, which I believe TEC is doing for North Andover as well.
So it's important they match it up against each of our bylaws. And so the civil review will compare it to our site plan review. Middleton's will be different, obviously, so.
Right, so you really have, those are very separate, whereas the traffic and then storm are really one cohesive review by TEC, which is necessary, because you can only imagine, right? It's just like put two attorneys in a room, they're never going to agree. Put 3 engineers in a room, and they're never going to agree. So it's better to have the one review, then we have responses, then we can get to one good spot where we have a healthy plan that the board can review. So basically, as Ms. Enright had said, it's about a 12-acre parcel, 7 acres of which, a little bit better than that, are located in North Andover, 5 acres of which are located in Middleton. Just to go over what the current improvements are, as Mr. Goldberg had said, there are 2 structures located only in Middleton. Those structures were built in and around 1944, pre-existing, illegally existing, non-conforming structures and uses. So you have the barn structure, and then you have a residence. So that's why the property is not a mixed-use property, but it is used as such because it predated limitations in zoning that prohibited mixed use. Currently, Middleton does have permits to operate a petro distribution company, but it is not a fueling service place. All they do is park the vehicles there and then move them off, get them fueled, that's it. So I just bring that to your attention because that is one of the uses that probably will remain later in time, but again, only on the Middleton side. relative to your particular property in North Andover, which is more salient for this board, is, again, everything's going to be cleared, the site is going to be completely redeveloped. And what we're proposing to do is to actually create one building, but it does have an odd shape with the connection in the back. Why the connection in the back? You can't have utilities that aren't going through one single building. So we have utility room here, connecting water and electric that will provide service to the North Andover structure. We do connect fully in the back. The way it works is Middleton, we didn't want to have any of the units cut in half by ownership. We made sure that there was going to be a unit, it would be all Middleton, and then all North Andover. I personally represented the Ferncroft Hotel at one point, and if you know that place, you have literally rooms that are split down the middle. You know, like the bathroom will be in Danvers, and then the bed will be in Middleton, and that's very difficult for tax purposes, so we avoided that. That's not going to be your issue with regard to this property. Middleton zoning is similar and dissimilar to yours in many ways. So in Middleton, they are proposing to have some outdoor storage. You do not really allow outdoor storage. You can have accessory indoor storage, but Middleton allows there to be an outdoor component, and that's showing in the rear part of the property. With regard to your parcel, Mr. Felivi is targeting and has had some interest by some research and development companies, and what we're targeting is hopefully one large tenant for the building, but as you know, you can't really identify that until you're really through the process, have your approvals, and have begun the construction process and can show a tenant really what's going on. But that is most likely what the proposal will be for. So your building in North Andover is 106,000 square feet. It will be 2 stories. Middleton's will be more contractor bays, and it will be a single-story building. Please.
Pause for a second. So, John, have you had many cross-border applications? Because I'm just reviewing, because I just want, as we're talking about this, I want to make sure our focus is appropriate. Because I'm looking at the special permit bylaw, and it says that our criteria involve, effects on the neighborhood. It doesn't just say the neighborhood in North Andover. So, although we focus on North Andover, I still think we need to hear what's happening in Middleton.
Well,
And
did we have cross-border with Merrimack?
Yes.
yeah, we have, but it's interesting. I've never heard in most of those discussions. I don't ever remember hearing anyone from Andover come or really focusing on how it would have. And most of that was because the buildings were. I mean, at least.
But
Well, I think it's-
I thought we were aware that the neighbors on the Andover side
Right.
were very concerned
Correct.
about how that was being done.
I remember that.
Yeah.
And so I guess my
This
point.
was the
Right.
dorm,
Yeah,
not the
right.
athletic field.
Right, yeah.
But my point is just that I think we definitely want to hear mostly about what's happening in North Andover, but I also don't want to ignore the fact that if there was something being done in Middleton that I thought would have a significant effect on the neighborhood, either North Andover or in Middleton, I'd still have trouble with that. So,
If there's,
Yeah, I mean, I think you're
That's-
right. To tell you the truth, other than the very back one, I can't really think of anything that in a really long period of time that's happened that way. But I agree wholeheartedly with you. I think we have to, even though it's primarily within the jurisdiction of Middleton about the access from the street, you
Right.
need to understand the way the road comes in, the circulation, how close the use that's in Middleton might impact the North Andover side with the cars and trucks and everything like that. So I think it's fair.
So John, just quick question. When the Merrimack plan, did you guys have a joint meeting during that?
No,
No.
no. I'll tell you later the context.
yeah, I don't
No,
know that you could even.
no.
you
I
are
don't think
not-
you could do that.
You could.
No, you couldn't.
But
Yeah.
if someone from Middleton came here and wanted to talk, I would definitely listen to them. Just as I hope that if someone from North Andover went to Middleton and said, "Hey, you're not building a 10-story building, but if there was a 10-story building over there and now it's affecting me in North Andover," you would expect to be heard on that. So I just don't want to forget that.
It's
Yeah.
not straddling the boundary, but where the rough and tumble play care is, 125
Yep.
and Bradford Street.
Right.
There was a
Yep.
guy putting a different type of barbecue grill thing in there.
the pizza
Oh, I
ovens,
remember
right?
that.
Pizza
The
oven,
pizza oven,
that's
yeah.
right,
Pizza
pizza
place.
oven.
Yeah.
And
No,
and
that's
there was a
right. That's a good-
modification of the
yeah,
driveway
that's right. The
for big
people that
trucks
lived
and,
in Haverhill were
right there,
concerned
right there. Yeah, right.
No,
So
you're-
that's
a good
kind
point,
of a
yeah.
little bit,
That's very analogous to this, I
Yeah.
think.
yes.
Yeah.
So I think you have to, we understand that, which is why I keep
Yeah.
telling you about Middleton,
Yeah.
number one. Number two, we are required, so both towns notified residents in both communities.
Good.
So I apologize for not knowing your name, but these two ladies showed up for Middleton's hearing.
Good.
And, you know, they shown up, for
Good.
example, when we had, remember I talked about that gas distribution?
Yeah.
These two ladies showed up as well to
Okay.
that. So this isn't a process by which, I mean, quite frankly, you have no jurisdiction over the buildings that go into Middleton, and you know that. But you have full jurisdiction over your process, and that could impact Middleton, and it can impact North Andover. And as far as traffic and the access point goes, you actually, believe it or not, are the controlling party. So Ms. Enright and Ms. O'Leary from the town actually submitted the traffic report through North Andover. So, and then Middleton's planning, I apologize, Middleton's zoning board, because zoning is our site plan reviewer, has asked just to be able to submit, any additional scope requirements. So we, as a team, view this as a cooperative process. There is no intent to not tell you everything that's
Nope.
going on, which is why you have a copy of their full application, and why I will continue, unfortunately, to burden you with both sides and keep telling you what we're going to do.
That's fine, it's just something that, I mean,
Yeah.
again.
And we have
it's
notified,
unusual.
everybody in both communities.
Okay.
I think
Thank
you'll
you.
find that mostly you're going to have people from North Andover, because in Middleton, the abutters there are predominantly industrial.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, they are.
Okay, sounds good, thank you.
You're very
You
welcome.
can-
Please, before you
Please.
page turn, can you just, with your finger, I can't quite make out on the drawing, where's 114?
Right here.
Ah, good, thank you. I thought that was it, but thank you
No,
for
no problem.
orienting.
You know
Yes,
what,
and so
I-
the green going up, that's the frontage in Middleton, and the diagonal line going to the left, northwest, is the boundary.
Yes.
Gotcha.
So here's
Thank
the
you.
property in Middleton.
Okay.
It cuts this way.
Gotcha.
And as you can see, so here's the property line. This is where Middleton actually ends, and there's no frontage on
Yep.
114 in Andover.
Thank you.
You're very, very welcome. So, the two buildings are shown. The stormwater management system obviously is cooperative, because it's the entire site. You can't cut it off, it has to be blended, and that's what's done. And we comply, we comply with both the local stormwater management practices in North Andover as well as in Middleton, and obviously by the state, or Commonwealth, right? We comply with all of the zoning requirements in both communities as well, setbacks, open space, height. So the buildings with regard to North Andover have the right to go up to 55 feet under your bylaw, which is one of the dimensional requirements, but it would look a little odd, because in Middleton, the limitation is 35. So what we've done is the Middleton portion is 35, the North Andover portion has like a little bit of a sloped roof like that, so it goes to 38, and it is 2 stories. So there's not this dramatic difference. We've limited it to being very cohesive visually with the Middleton portion.
Do you know the height of the Oak Ridge Village units that are immediate?
Oh, the condominiums?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Higher than 38, though,
Oh,
right?
gosh,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, those,
Closer to
aren't they
55?
3 or 4 stories? Yeah.
They're at least 3.
3 stories? Yeah. Yeah, they're taller than we are. They
Okay.
might be, are they higher in elevation too, Chris?
They are, it depends on where you are on the
Yeah.
site, but the elevation of the land is higher
Yeah, it's a
where
little.
the condominium is than we are.
Right on the line, practically.
Is there a sheet of paper?
I'm sorry, I was just gonna flip to do you have the renderings too?
No, I don't.
You don't, okay, so Ms. Enright does. So this particular proposal does involve 2 different types of buildings. However, we did go through our first planning process with the Middleton, and we are in the process of updating the landscaping plan as well as the renderings for the buildings. Mr. Filidi, after he'd seen the renderings, had decided that he wanted to try and improve the aesthetic. So his desire is to actually create more glass and to create more visual appeal and to eliminate the blank stare of the Middleton building that faces Route 114. The building in North Andover actually has already been designed to have a glass front and an entrance point because the uses of the building in North Andover are much more professionally oriented versus contractor and I guess, service providers. And if I can, I don't know where that is, Ms.
Yeah, I
Enright.
don't see it there. Do you know what
It
the-
was part of the architectural plans, maybe, right after that. It might be in the back part, if you keep going all the way to the back.
These are the elevations.
There was a picture in there. Okay.
Definitely was.
Anyway, you can tell from, I'm trying to see it too, if I had. I can't see it either. Anyway, it is going to be updated. I thought we would have had it in there, but we are providing, I'm going to whip it out. Okay. It was H, Exhibit H, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. Oh, that's weird, there's no H. That's strange. Anyway, I can show, I know you ladies had seen it, but that's the building. If I apologize, but if you don't mind passing it.
Well, I do think, as we move forward in this, we'll want to do a little bit more of a drill down with profiles and that sort of stuff, so.
I just figured maybe just for introduction's sake, to be able to see the different buildings. Okay, so we have also looked at and designed for parking. This building also has 360-degree access for the fire departments, and we have, I think, 5 hydrants located along the access road. Because it is a long road and it is a lot of building, so we do have hydrants set up and did meet with the chief of Middleton Fire Department and then also discussed it with your chief during our department review meeting. So basically, you can get around the entirety of the buildings and then even come through the center of the building. The parking is located in the fronts of the buildings as well as, throughout the site in the backs. That really sums up the project. I mean, we can go through and do some review for you for stormwater if you'd like, but again, we don't have your comments back, and we haven't heard anything also from traffic. So this was really intended to be kind of an introduction.
What's there, is it right now, what's there? Is this all like trailers and stuff like that? Is that what
Yeah,
this
so
is?
currently the property is, and I did include an aerial for you, the property just has a whole bunch of temporary structures on it. It's used sometimes for parking vehicles. In the last, you'll notice in the traffic report, when you review it, that there had been a reduction in the amount of volume of traffic literally in the last year, because when Mr. Felitti acquired it, many of the other tenants, he actually asked to leave and then kept only certain few of them. So there has been a slight reduction in the traffic and a slight reduction in the number of trailers, if you will, on site, and then just activity.
What kind
at
of
the
what kind of
property.
clearing would need to be done?
How much clearing?
Well,
Oh,
yeah, for the trees.
Sure, one second, we're gonna go to that plan. Can you go to maybe existing conditions plan, Chris, or something?
So.
Existing tree line, right?
So for the record, Mr. Chairman, Chris Sparagus, a civil engineer from the office of Williams and Sparagus at Middleton. And on this existing conditions plan on the North Andover side, I've just highlighted the limit of the existing tree line. And so we're treed on the outside, if you will, of this line. And so some of these trees are proposed to be cleared as part of our development. And they're shown, the limit of the clearing line is our limit of work, which is our silt fence line that's on the perimeter of the project. So we have a swath of trees in this area here that are slated to be taken down to accommodate the proposed development.
And where is the condominiums?
So the closest building at Oak Ridge Terrace is, excuse me, thank you.
So
That's the
can
closest
can
building.
you, just to follow up on that, How close is the edge of the proposed building to the edge of the property line? And then how far is the edge of the building to the nearest structure on the abutting property?
Sure, we're looking at a 40 scale plan here. The property is rather large. We wanted to try to fit the whole project on one sheet of paper. But the closest the building is to the property line is approximately 105 feet. And that would be this point here.
What kind of screening and trees would remain in your proposal?
So along this line, if we were to flip over to our proposed landscaping plan, we've slated a shaded area through here to replant, to provide a visual screen using eastern white pine. So that's the plan for screening in that area. But from building to building, we are approximately 140 feet from the corner of that building to the corner, to the side of this building.
And which is higher?
The property up here is higher, 2, 4, 6, 8 feet higher in elevation, relatively speaking.
The buildings themselves are 38 feet to, we said 3-story or 4? 3-story, so probably 45 feet, but I can confirm
Yeah,
that.
I'm just trying to see, it makes a difference
So
which
the 8
is
feet
higher.
higher off the ground and then 45
Yeah,
feet
okay.
from that.
They're elevated probably 25 feet above us at the top, top to top.
And do you have proposed mechanicals that are gonna go on the larger building?
On the roof, well, we haven't done the MEPs yet, so
Okay.
we don't have construction, but we do plan on locating all mechanicals on the roof. We will.
Okay.
Looks like Jane was able to find the rendering, Jill.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. I knew I didn't forget.
That's, by the way, that's a problem, how you disguise mechanicals.
Yeah, well, I mean, we can easily put them up on the roof and properly disguise them. That won't be a problem for us. I mean, it's a big roof. Middleton is asking us to, do certain things as well, and, we're willing to do that.
And maybe just a follow-up question. So, I guess you alluded to an R&D build. Any idea what type of R&D? No? Okay.
We probably know, but I probably can't discuss it. So, people have reached out, but nothing that I can discuss. There's no letters of intent. If there were, I probably could
Yeah.
tell you, but I don't have anything like
And-
that.
And the reason why I ask is that because this is where mechanical screening becomes important, because if you put a lot of mechanicals towards the buildings and the abutters behind, is that it's kind of right there, if you're putting everything on the roof, so just a comment.
Can you tell us the category of R&D? Is it
It could be, I mean,
electrical, chemical, bio?
I don't think it's, I don't know.
So-
Can't say. Yeah, I mean, it could be, I know, you can.
So we don't need to know right now,
Yeah,
but
I
again,
just don't know.
it,
We won't know definitively until after your approval. We will not know that.
that assumes approval.
Well, I mean, it's site plan review, and I get it, but I mean,
But I mean, because you're gonna ask us to make certain assumptions about where things are gonna be placed and what there's going to be and what kind of traffic there's going to be and what kind of screening is necessary, and that can be very different based on who the tenants are. So it just makes it harder for us. And you're definitely not the first person to tell us, we don't know, or we do know, but we can't say because of certain agreements, and we get all that. But it just makes our job a lot more difficult, because there are certain things that could go different ways. And it just may mean that we're more limited in what kind of waivers or what kind of approvals we're willing to give without information, so.
And we understand that. I mean,
So
but for
the more you
example-
can give us, the easier it is for us to make the conditions and things like that more tolerable. So just that's,
If you,
yeah.
if you can
Yeah.
give some, address the board.
Raymond Fellini, developer, 9 Broadway, Wakefield, Mass. We've had numerous tenants come forward with our brokers. I've been reluctant to take any of those LOIs, because I really want to see where we're headed with it. I get what you're looking for. big one is like food service, no, because we can't handle it with septic. Any type of manufacturing. So on that end, but more likely R&D or, I'm trying to remember some of the people that have contacted us, but they're very light. R&D, light manufacturing, nothing massive that's a lot of people and I don't think a lot of traffic. So we'll get closer to that. As I get closer, I can bring in some LOIs and we can look at them if you want to do that. I mean, I can't guarantee you who's coming and who's not, but I don't want to commit to anything until, I can't commit. I don't have any approvals.
That's fine, it's just,
Yeah.
it's, again, like, if you're using.
I get
If
it.
a company that has chemicals, and we really want that
Right.
on one end of the property, not
Right.
the other end of the property.
I
And
agree.
so that's how it does play into site plan, what types of things, and we can always
Well, I think
condition.
the critical thing with that actually
And
is
traffic.
we're with, no, it's more with the Middleton issues of the septic and the
yeah.
water and.
And
that-
our side,
yeah.
it's where you position the mechanicals, right? So
Yeah.
like if you have a chemical R&D, you have a lot of fume hoods, right? And if you position them close to the abutters, you're staring at stacks effectively, right? Versus where you can position them at least away from the abutters, you know?
And what we would end up doing, honestly, is simply accepting conditions to say we can't do those things, because in this environment, in any environment, you really can't get anybody to commit to you until you have an approval.
Okay.
And, you know, with all due respect, I could sign, I could have somebody, and that entity could go bankrupt, and I'd have to fill it. So it's like, you know, I'd love to be able to tell you that I can guarantee a tenant, I can't, but we'll accept conditions that would be protective of the, you know, of the environment and the abutters, because that's fair, and we know
Okay.
that.
So
All right.
if I could add,
Yep.
the application includes proposed uses in order to determine proposed parking and parking requirements. So the way it breaks out of the 106,000 square feet in North Andover, office use, 5,000 square feet, warehouse, 20,000 square feet, R&D, 17,000 square feet, and storage use, 64,000 square feet. And so this-
Okay.
to
I
give
mean,
some perspective,
small.
R&D is 17,000.
We'll just, I mean, I think we'll just, I just want to be cognizant of those things as we move forward, that we may have to just
More
be
storage.
specific on our, on our conditions. That's
Yeah,
all.
Mr. Simons, you're right. It is sort of, so many components lately of the R&D facilities, you know, they have like this small clean room or, you know, this small research and development center with this little lab, and then they have the storage component for other aspects of the business, which is why it's driven like that. But I will tell you, and Ms. Enright, I appreciate that, so when you approve the site plan based on that, you're approving the parking. And to the extent we don't have that, then we're limited, because the building inspector will look, and every time, especially, I know in Middleton we have to do it, we have to deliver a thing called a septic capacity chart and a parking capacity chart outlining every single solitary use and how I satisfy that, because for this exact reason that Mr. Goldberg pointed out, things change. What do I do when I change, and do I still comply?
It's similar to many of the strip malls that propose we're going to have a restaurant and then all this small
They
retail
have
space.
three.
And then they want a second restaurant and a third
I
restaurant.
guess a little bit is like, where's the parking going on this?
Sure.
I don't have any intuitive.
So we have parking in front of all of the buildings, and then for the larger building, we have parking along the sides, and I believe that's where it's well. This building, the Middleton building, which is the contractor building, requires very, very little parking. I know it's hard to believe, but it's because they have the overhead doors where we don't show any parking, and because typically, they're truly storage. I mean, sometimes you'll have one office inside, but they generally require maybe 2 parking spaces each, and then you have them in front of the door and then inside too. So that's what ends up
I
happening.
mean, I can't tell, Judy, you may know whether, like, is this a site where parking is gonna be tight, or one where the lot's so big that it's probably gonna be easy to put the parking?
Yeah, they comply with the parking, so they're not asking for any waivers, any special permits, or
Yeah.
any variances with their application. What they do owe us is the swept path analysis for the fire department to make sure the trucks can circulate.
Yeah, okay.
I
And
just
they
want to
have
make
to
one more
turn-
point. The storage will be limited mechanical, and I understand where you're going with that. I also have a mechanical company, so they're just limited to unit heaters, interior, so nothing outside. You know, no heavy equipment. So I just wanted, and that's over 2/3 of the building, I believe.
why don't we hear from any members of the public now? And you're welcome to come up and ask questions, which I'll direct. You're welcome to come up and make a statement. You're welcome to not say anything and just be here and listen. So if anyone wants to, not required to, but if anyone wants to come up, please, why don't we do so now, one at a time? All right, please. Can you just tell us who you are and where you live, please?
Marcia Finkelstein. The addresses at Oak Ridge Village are funny, so
Oak Ridge-
my
just Oak Ridge
my
Village is
voting
fine.
address is 2104 Harvest Drive.
If you want to just say Oak Ridge Village, that's
Oak
fine.
Ridge Village.
That's fine, that's fine.
I just moved to the area and became aware of this project in a really funny way. I kept getting these, what do they call them? These notifications, like return, like you have to sign for. And I was very confused by that. I thought, oh, creditors following me or something. And I was like, that can't be, I don't owe anybody any money. So, so I did some research. I ended up, calling the town because one of these notices had the town as the sender. I had gotten one that said man and man, and I didn't know what that was. And I was like, So I did some research, and I figured out that it was a law firm, and I was like, okay, I'm super suspicious now. And I called and ended up talking to someone in the planning department, and they told me about this project. And I was like, that's kind of weird.
So I don't know if you found out during your research, but just so everyone knows, is that when it's a public hearing, for certain public hearings, they're required to do that, and they're required to send you certified letters so that they can prove that they've notified a butter, so.
Well,
they're
this is
actually-
the thing. I started talking to my neighbors, and not everybody got the notices. And I just, I happened to get lucky, and I talked to somebody at the planning department, and they sent me the notice. And then I found out later that there was hundreds of materials in this Google Drive that are pretty hard to wade through. I'm not an engineer, but I think the thing that kind of struck me the most was, where is the community involvement? It's almost, 300 units in the property? Yeah, it's a lot. I'm in number 2, which is I don't know if it's that building, I don't know if it's this one, but it's right next to the line. The closest building, I think, between me and 3. And I just thought, why is it that the developers or the folks that were representing the developers are not engaging with us in a conversation? And I just really am curious as to whether they're just more concerned with just pushing this project through than having a conversation and maybe asking our opinion as to how it can be improved. In the spirit of cooperation, since it is literally 100 to 140 feet away from the closest building. So that's really my question. I can't deal with the minutia of it, but I'm just really interested in that because I consider myself a civically minded person, and I don't necessarily know every detail of how things work, and I'm learning, having only lived here a couple of months, but I am really concerned, and I know that my neighbors are worried about noise and the building of this project if it does go through, and how that's going to impact the quality of life and how long it's going to take. And I don't know if any of my neighbors are interested in speaking, but I just wanted to, have my voice heard.
Okay, thank you.
My name's Fred Judge. I'm a resident of Oak Ridge Village. I'm also a trustee. One of the biggest concerns we have is noise. Down at the end of the lot where our dumpster area is is probably the closest point of this whole project. And the noise carries across there very well. Goes right through the wooded area, right over to Building 3. My suggestion is, after looking at it, maybe from the property line of Oak Ridge Village down to the end of our property line, they may be able to put in a sound barrier like a Simtech fence or a buffer fence like you see along these other developments to prevent road noise. I think something of that type might be a plus for the residents of our community. And a quick look at it, it looks like from the Middleton point down, it would be about 450 feet. And probably something 8 foot tall would do because of the difference in the elevation. Our land is probably 5 to 6 feet from what I could just look visually across higher. But that may be something that the builder would like to consider and weigh that option. Thank you.
That was very reasonable input. Thank you.
My name is Shirley E. Cabral, and I'm also a resident of the Oak Ridge Village. And I have, I'll take my mask down. I have attended all of the Middleton hearings. One thing that really, on the first hearing, that really upset me is the fact that, in speaking, that the work was scheduled. You realize that these trucks are all diesel, that they are going to have on the property. There is 18 diesel vehicles. In the wintertime, a diesel vehicle is going to have to run all night, right, to be plugged up, etc. But really what really upsets me is the fact that it was stated that work would begin at 5 a.m. in the morning.
Construction work or ongoing?
No, these vehicles will be starting up at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Okay. So she's referring to the Petro use, which is existing today and is proposed to continue on the Middleton parcel, not North Andover.
Among other things, I had asked that there would be buffers, as Fred had mentioned. But there are several other things. But the starting time and not being concerned of the fact that here, this is our home. And if you have people starting work at 5 o'clock, they're going to be, the cars getting there at 4:30. This is right next to us. And there's also, they will be driving around on the property. In the last meeting, there's going to be a road that goes around within the whole property. It just seems like one big noise factor. And it doesn't seem as if we are really being given any concern. That's my major, I mean, there are other things, but the noise factor is number one.
Okay.
Thank you.
I think it would be nice, oh, by the way, my name is Mary Kanakaris, and I'm from Oak Ridge Village. I think it would be nice if you would consider coming and looking at our site and how it looks in comparison to where they're going to be building this building. And yes, noise is a big factor. There are a lot of people that live in Building 3, and Building 3 is immediately above where this building is going to be built. And it's a big concern for us, especially if they're going to be starting up diesel engines at 5 a.m.
So I think this is one, so we do often take site visits, so I think that's certainly a possibility. I think we need to kind of get into it a little bit more and see where we're at, but I think that's definitely a possibility.
And I would offer that the
Middleton ZBA also wants a site visit and has yet to schedule it. So it would be possible that with Ms. Enright and Ms. O'Leary, you could structure to have it together, to have a little bit more transparency for the
Yeah.
boards.
That would be fine. We'd be for that. I'd like to do it sometime in the winter. I'd like to get some more details of the plan, go through more of the, go through more of your renderings, go through more of the feedback from the consultants. But I also would like to see it, with the trees down and stuff like that. I mean, noise and screening, I think are going to be
With
the.
the leaves down.
Yes, that's with the leaves down, yes. I mean, I'd like to know what it's gonna look like with some of the trees cut and what's gonna, I mean, we may ask for renderings of that later on.
For the site visit, we can show you, we'll give you the, we'll stake the disturbance
Yeah.
areas and we'll show you, and then we'll stake our property line.
Yeah, so, and we can talk, so yes, I mean, it seems like, noise and screening are going to be two of the larger concerns. Okay. Anyone else? Yeah. And again, this is not our last meeting, so if something comes up, we'll definitely address things as we move forward.
Thank you. I'll be brief. Stephen Sacco, also a resident of Oak Ridge Village and a member of the Board of Trustees for the Homeowners Association. In addition to the comments my neighbors have made, we are also extremely concerned about the traffic flow. It's a very dangerous stretch of 114, and adding more commercial traffic is going to have a serious impact on the safety in that area. So we just need to get that out there as well.
Okay, and I did see a traffic analysis in the packet, which I'm sure we'll have reviewed by our traffic consultant, right? And then we'll discuss that. Okay. Okay, we'll get, I'm sure, we'll discuss traffic once we get the consultant reports back, I think. Okay, so traffic will be to come. I mean, I would say one thing that we always put conditions about work hours. We always put conditions about noise. Sometimes we require testing, sometimes we require ongoing testing. We always put conditions about screening. So those are things that we consider in every application, and especially one like this. It's where the use is changing and where, you're going from looking at, not a beautiful site with the trailers and things like that, but to a more active site. Certainly the noise is something that we'll definitely consider as we move forward.
And given this is on a state highway, it's going to trigger a MEPA review as
Yeah.
well. So they'll also assess the traffic and environmental impact. So that application has not been filed yet. It's pending, but we'll get a copy of that when that gets filed.
So that's a state review that's done outside of our jurisdiction, okay? We don't have control over that, but it's something that will be triggered because it's on a state highway, and they'll need a state highway access permit. Okay, so when do we want to next schedule and meet?
So
When's our next meeting?
November 15th is the next meeting. Do you think you'll have any additional information by the 15th? I'm not quite sure the peer review will even have a first pass by then.
I'd say we're probably best to go out one more.
I was going to say, and also I'm not here on the 15th, so.
And
So-
the ZBA meets on the 15th as well, so, oh, you're not before ZBA.
I'm not, yeah, I'm
So
not,
let's-
the last
The last
before the
applicant
ZBA.
Right.
So what would be, so,
December 6th.
oh, that would actually be perfect, because we will have turned the landscaping, and I believe we'll even hear from the peer review consultants, so that there'll be a little more meat to discuss. Plus, we've heard some of the concerns of the abutters, and we'd like the opportunity to be able to make some tweaks for that as well.
Yep, especially the
December
sound,
6th?
So
sound
continue
fence
to
is a good
December
idea.
6th.
Okay, yeah, the more you can work with them to kind of go over ideas and to, I mean,
Absolutely.
listen, a lot of times we get abutters that come with ideas that are not necessarily practical or don't really want to work necessarily with people. The ideas I've heard tonight are very practical and very reasonable, so definitely
agree.
work with them. That helps us. Okay, so we'll continue until December 6th. Okay? You're welcome.
Appreciate your time this evening.
All right. Can I get a motion to approve the meeting minutes from October 11th? Motion made.
Second.
Seconded by Peter. All in favor, Kelly?
Yes.
Alyssa?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Peter?
Aye.
I also vote yes. Can I get a motion to?
Hey, folks, Folks, could you move outside, folks?
Yeah, we haven't finished the meeting yet. We
Folks.
still have some other. Yeah.
Thank
No,
you.
we just haven't finished the meeting yet. So anyone who wants to talk, feel free to step outside, just so we can finish. Thank you. That's okay. Thank you all.
What else were you going to say?
I was gonna do an adjournment motion unless
Okay,
there's
so I want to get out of here. I'm not
Yeah.
messing with people, and it's not about the lake.
Yeah.
It's about the Santander property on Main Street. So I don't know what the plan is going forward for other meetings. I do know that until we, have official public hearings, we typically don't send out a butter notification, but I don't think we have sent out any abutter notifications. We've had a couple informal meetings.
I don't think any applications have been.
Correct. Correct, but here's my concern, and I've had this concern the whole time I've been here, but I haven't really understood how to express it, and I'm gonna try that now. I think we are acting on good faith to have some informal meetings to get a sense, and for them to get a sense of, oh no, maybe this, not that. That's all good faith, I'm fine with that, and I understand that until there's a formal application, public hearings, we don't send out abutter notices. But here's my concern. In the course of doing this good faith effort, to say that we're baking in part of the plan is too strong. But we are focusing parts of the plan, and my concern is this. When we get to the point of abutter notices, and then people show up and, geez, we didn't know about this, and the plan is kind of along a certain distance, I think sometimes we may feel a reluctance of telling an applicant, hey, we want you to go back and have your architect redo stuff that we've been talking about for 6 months. We know there's an expense. But that's where the good faith effort, I think, goes wrong. And we're leaving the abutters a little bit short. Gene, I know we've talked about abutter letters, non-registered ones, a heads up, and the expense, the time, and it also can create a problem because if it's not a registered letter, because this is an informal notification, that can cause confusion. I understand it's not as simple as it sounds, but I just want to say I have a problem with the unintentional effect of this good faith effort of meeting with the applicant. I appreciate the purpose of that. I would like to continue doing that. But I think it's wrong without some notification to the abutters that, hey, there's an informal thing here, we're trying to understand it, we're having meetings, we want you to know. I just think it's wrong to proceed without letting the neighbors know. And maybe we have, but I don't think we have.
Well, I'll just say, anyone who signs up for notifications from the town.
Yeah, but come on.
I've seen it on multiple discussion groups. I don't know that I understand where you're coming from, but I don't know that there's a better way to do it.
Gene, I can appreciate it's more complicated than I'm making it, but.
I don't remember ever discussing this, Peter, to be honest.
Well,
not
in the terms that I'm doing now, but more like asking a question. Have we sent letters out? No, we're not at that point yet. We don't do it yet, and there's a reason we don't. Like that kind of.
I think that comes around town meeting warrants.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Which we don't, and we're not going to.
Well, no, we've had the discussion in the past of should we send notifications on something that may be controversial before it comes to a public hearing where we're required. And we've always said no, because then we're picking and choosing which ones to do it. Yeah. And that has its own set of problems.
It does, that's why I'm saying
Right.
it's more complicated than I'm making it.
I think the interesting thing is going to be, because we do have some forums, you said people have noticed, the question is, like you were even talking tonight about the master plan and making this stuff visible, I think it's probably, to some degree, our overall communication method. We may be doing a fairly good job compared to most places, but.
I think we've come a really long way.
But I think the objective is to get things out there consumable by people that may be relevant to them. And, And I think we actually probably do a fairly decent job of
Yeah,
it. You
Gene,
could always
this is
do
not a
better.
criticism
Yeah.
of how things are going. It's a comment I feel I have to make, because A, despite the good intentions, I think there's an unintended consequence here which is not good. And
But are you saying that on the board's ability to change, because that, if so, then just bringing it up, there is some cognitive dissonance if you come and they present something and you've been involved in somewhat creating that, to then say, no, do it over because you hear it. But I think as long as we're thinking about that, I think that's,
Well, okay, so fair point. My point in bringing this up is twofold, that I feel like I'm in a different position as I sort of form this view that I need to be less reticent about saying, nope, back to the drawing board. And not be burdened by, geez, we know that's going to be expensive to you, because if the abutters are just now hearing it, I think I need to be more willing to do that. But I hate to do that to an applicant if I could avoid it and still have the good faith effort with better knowledge that the abutters are aware during the informal, well-intended exchange. I think we're doing this out of trying to have a better process. But what I'm trying to communicate is there's an unintended consequence. We're going too far downstream before we let the abutters know. And I
get
also.
that, but the other
there's-
option is
there-
that-
there- Look, I understand the argument that to some extent it's up to them. Look on the website, get the agendas, but it doesn't work.
but put it the other way. If they never came to us, it would come to us first as a public hearing. And so there would be less notification to abutters if that happened.
Correct.
So we're getting more here than we would if we did it just as public
I'm
hearing.
not saying
Yeah.
that we shouldn't do it. I'm saying there's an unintended
I get
consequence
it.
that I think we need, as a board, to think about how to cure or address. And then it takes our good intentions even better.
I mean, it's a little bit, the whole rationale of socializing a project early in the game is so that we don't jerk them around when they come for the public hearing, and we go through. So, I think what you're saying is, how do we ensure we're sort of aligned, we're reasonably hear what could be strong about our opinion? I mean,
That could help us.
should inform us, help inform us in our decision. It's a fair game. I do think in a lot of cases, people probably won't care, but other cases they will.
Is there a reason we can't do kind of the lowest cost option of notifying in this case? Maybe it's not a registered letter; those are expensive, time consuming. But a postcard, hey, something's coming up. If you're interested, follow the planning board agenda.
I mean, again, but the problem becomes, which projects do we do that on? And then if we do it on this one and then not on the other one.
Well, I
So
would
I
say
would
one
do
way to
all of
address
this,
that
right?
is if
I think
we're
it's
having
important.
preliminary meetings, we do it.
Yeah, if it's important enough that they're coming to us and we're taking and the people are coming and taking the time, why wouldn't we send kind of the lower cost option just to one, some way of reaching them in their homes?
Yeah. So I have a question. Is there a cap on the amount of informal meetings that we have per project?
No.
So we can effectively, so if there's not a cap, in theory, it could go on 3 or 4 times in informal meetings, right?
Could go on for a year. I mean, you could have someone, I mean.
Crest just did.
Right.
Yeah.
You
Right,
could,
so-
we did Royal Crest for a year
Yeah,
of
yeah.
informal meetings,
Yeah.
which we didn't send out notifications on.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if someone comes to us and, hey, I have this idea because I have this property, I just want to get your take, but I'm not actually going to be able to build on it for another year. It could be, we could send out a notification, we could have one meeting, and then it could not come back for a year.
Yep.
So it's hard.
Well,
And
it is
with-
hard, but what if we were to say, if we're gonna have informal meetings, and if we think it's gonna be more than one meeting, we ought to let people know.
Right, and what about on a bond release? So we had the dispute between Cross Point and the owners of the Burger King lot there. And once I heard about it out of courtesy, I would send them the agenda to let them know, but what if they never were told there was a bond release? Should we notice bond releases to abutters?
Well, but you did.
In that case, but I didn't for the pool today.
Right.
I'd like to be,
We don't want to be too prescriptive.
I'd like to be uniform if we can, which is hard because there are exceptions, but
I'm saying it's more complicated than I'm making it sound.
Yes, no,
I
and
appreciate
it's
that.
definitely
These are
complicated.
good questions.
okay,
So let's think about it, and we'll talk about it next meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Put it on the
Kind
agenda
of
for
how
discussion.
many are there really? Like, what are we talking about? How many?
Well, the problem is that discussion items can be, it's hard to qualify what would.
Yeah, but it's a matter of degree. I mean, look
Right,
at
no, I get- right.
Santander versus our discussion
Right.
items tonight.
Correct, right, so these ones we wouldn't do it for, but how, do you make a rule? Like, we could make our rules and regulations say that for certain things, we do that. Or it could be ad hoc.
So we just waive site plan review without noticing abutters. for
Right,
daycare.
so, and I think, which I think was fine, but.
Well, I don't know. I
No,
mean-
well, that's, right. So that's the question, do we make an ad hoc rule where something we think is going to be important and we notify them? Or do we make an actual rule and regulation, something to talk about? So, it's
Well,
not,
one factor could be, you know, you're right, we did that. We waived it. We didn't notice anybody. That was one meeting. Santander, we've had what, 3 meetings, 2 meetings? We expect we're gonna have more. We can see that coming, and we're doing it because we think it's an improvement in the process. So that has more runway. We can see the runway.
And just out of curiosity, are we able to, you know, if somebody's is maybe part of an application process of just a good faith, that put it on the applicant to notify abutters and just give us a proof of notification?
Yeah, but
Are
in
we
this
able to do
case, it's
something like
not
that?
in application, is it?
Or something of the, I'm just
Yeah,
giving
okay,
an example
all right,
of
yep.
that
so
nature.
yes, well, we can't require them, but we can ask them to notify and provide it and say that that will benefit the board's process and thoughtfulness in this. If we know that people have been notified, that gives us more comfort moving forward.
I like part of that approach, but it also makes me think of, there were occasions with Royal Crest where they would, you know, some of the team would tell us, you know, oh, how many kitchens they've visited and talked to neighbors and huge numbers, and, I mean, it was really hard to believe it.
Right.
So, okay, I think it's I understand your point.
Thank you.
I get it. I think it is complicated, and I don't think there's an easy answer. So let's put it on the agenda, and let's think about it, and think if there's a way. And specifically, yeah, let's put it on the agenda to discuss.
Thank you.
Okay. We get a motion to
So
adjourn?
moved.
Motion made. Can we get a second? Second. Anyone want to go home?
Second.
All right, second. All in favor, Kelly?
Yes.
Alyssa?
Yes.
Peter?
Aye.
John? Aye. Yes. Score is 2-0 so far, so it's good. Okay. 2-0. Bryce Harper, home run.